privilege of sharing with you about the Teaching Professors Technology Conference that I attended this fall. What struck me about it is that it really helped people like myself who really aren't that savvy with technology to recognize that all technology that's out there are just useful tools that with some time and effort can be something that you can incorporate as a teaching strategy. However, the important thing about this conference was that they always stressed the importance of pedagogy over the use of technology. The first in your classes, you should have sound teaching instruction and then figure out how the tools of technology can be incorporated to make this more effective tools for your students or something that they can relate to a little bit better. One of the first people that I'd like to share with you is a speaker called Oliver Drone, and one of the things that he was asking us was to kind of identify what is it about teaching that makes our hearts sing. Well, for me as a new teacher, this was really a hard question to answer, and Phil Mason kind of whispered over and put me on the spot and said, "Jewel, what is it about teaching nursing that makes your heart sing?" And I said to him, "Phil, if you had asked me that when I was a clinical practitioner, I would have been able to readily answer that for you. But I don't know at this point with teaching what it is that makes my heart sing." And it kind of plagued me the rest of the day, this question of what is it about teaching that makes my heart sing? And it wasn't until I really thought about one of my students and the papers that she wrote and how she talked about working with an old Vietnam veteran and his trouble with waking up after anesthesia, and how she was able to really coach him through his last surgery, be there for him, repetitively telling him how safe he was in her care. And not that she wouldn't have done this without the education that she was receiving through Goshen College, but how she was so much more cognitively aware of holistic care of this gentleman. And she said, I was afraid of him before, but I felt like I had the tools or the understanding to really reach out to him and be there to help him in his recovery time in the PACU. And I thought, how powerful is that we as teachers get to impact the care that other nurses give to their patients. That maybe if I was a good or even great bedside nurse, I now get to impact 15 to 20 other nurses on a daily basis and helping them to achieve that kind of sense of being there for their patients. So I do ask you that same question of, can you answer what it is that makes your heart sing about teaching nursing? And if not, maybe it's time to really kind of contemplate that bigger question. One of the books that we talked about with Marie Norman was this book, How Learning Works, 7 Research-Based Principles for Smart Teaching. So there was a lot of different teaching strategies involved in this seminar. It wasn't just technology-based, which is, again, as a new professor, I found these all to be very helpful tools. So Marie Norman talks about her 7 principles. And one of the things was to just simply step away from the lectern. Be a part of your classes. Be integrated with the classes. Be engaging with your classes. She said that it's kind of like trying to learn from the driver's seat, or trying to learn from the passenger seat, when students are in your class. And I thought, what an interesting metaphor of if I'm more engaged and more interacting with them, that they'll be able to learn easier than kind of trying to learn what I'm saying if I have this distance between them. She also really encouraged us to let students do the heavy lifting, or if they have questions, to put it back on them to do the research of figuring out the answers. Keeping it authentic, which again we know motivates people and helps them to kind of build trust and rapport with us. She said that we should always, as teachers, allow time for written reflection, that this is really where the true learning occurs. And that's what I appreciate in the RN to BSN program, especially is the focus on using papers as a tool to reflect what it is that you've truly learned in class. Actively teaching literacy skills, and that really puts us as the classroom teacher more in the role of the librarian, which I definitely can feel in the RN to BSN program. So we're supposed to foster social connections, and we learned a lot of different various ways to do that in online forums. And then use multiple senses in your teaching style, which again, in an online classroom can be very hard to incorporate. Another interesting principle that came out of this conference was presented by Oliver Drone. And he used this idea of apprenticeship of observation. And that simply is this idea, if you haven't heard of it, that you teach in the style in which you are used to being taught in. So again, when I went to Goshen College, a lot of it was kind of formal lectures or tests or that kind of format. And so that's what you learn, and that's how you choose to kind of operate in your classroom. So the use of technology is kind of a new concept, I think, for all of us, of how do we integrate that and make that something that our students are definitely used to, and maybe their K through 12 education or even their undergrad education that they bring to us. He has 7 ideas on this topic of how we kind of can break this mold of apprenticeship of observation. And he really worked on a migrating focal point, again, that stepping away from the lectern and having group work, and how do you help facilitate that. That authentic practice builds on itself, so this idea of scaffolding what your students are learning, which is kind of a new concept to me as a teacher, but completely makes sense, that you have to explain steps A, B, and C before you can get to step D, and to really use the time and the patience to kind of build some of those foundational skills before they can get to that higher level learning. He used the idea of Home Depot as a model of them always asking, what is it that you're working on? And so I really encourage you to kind of build that Home Depot mentality into your teaching style of what is it that you're working on? And once we've identified the project, then we can make sure that we're giving them the right tools, rather than them saying, I'm coming in and I need your best hammer, when maybe what they really need is a garden hoe. So making sure that we align the tools that we're having our students use with what it is that they're really trying to work on. And then again, the task responsiveness idea, that pedagogy always comes first and our tools come second. And that he's suggesting that out of these ideas that he is giving, that we pick one, and that steps start small, that you pick one thing to work on and then build from there. A lot of the different seminars that I was able to go to were called It Ain't Just Breaking Ice, Community Building as Pedagogical Practice. And so now I'm going to have us stop, and we're going to do one of those. Did you pause it? I hope you enjoyed that. There were suggestions on how we could do that in an electronic environment, of using kind of 4 different whiteboards to answer some of those different questions, or to even have a globe that you're using as a way that students can pinpoint different locations that we experience throughout that game. That's just one of the different groupings that I was able to go to. There was also one called Early Communications that repurposed the first day of class. And this really was kind of helpful in an electronic environment of really planning and how do we do some of those early communications with our students that they feel like they know me as a program director, and then how do I incorporate that with other people that are teaching within my program, of using something like iMovie to put myself out there that they get to know who we are before class even starts. There was also how to earn a black belt in technology enhanced instruction. Well, I don't know that I would earn a black belt, but I'm not familiar with karate. Whatever the easiest belt is, maybe a white belt is where I'm at this point, but I'm starting. One of my favorite talks was by a gal named Deidre Price. She taught how to be human, teaching real people in digital spaces. And really what she had to say was so simplistic of, giving authentic advice, doing some of these videos, and just really being available for your students, which is what I've really found so important. For adult students, especially nurses, they expect timely feedback and communication, so really being present with them all the time is really what they're looking for. Another class that I talked about was preparing the professorate to use technology, supporting innovation and teaching. We were all able to attend this, and of course Phil and Aaron had different takeaways from it than what I did, but we all found that to be a really helpful session to attend. And then day 3, which is what leads us to this project right now, was video. Go and record, editing and publishing videos from your iPhone. So this is my brave chance to learn to incorporate technology into my teaching strategies. I'm trying to branch out and do something different, so I had to learn how to do iMovie and how to create my own YouTube site. So here we go. Hopefully this works and we all learn something from it.